The alarm rang through the Galactic Council's monitoring station on Kepler 442b. It was a sound that nobody had heard in over 50 years. Station Commander Veltar lifted his 4 arms from his control panel and stared at the readings on his screen. His blue skin turned pale as he read the numbers again and again. "This cannot be right," he said to himself. "Run the scan one more time." The computer ran the scan again. The results were the same. There was something big coming toward their space. Something they had never seen before. Veltar called his team to the main room. Scientists, military officers, and communication experts hurried to their stations. Everyone looked worried. The last time an unknown ship had appeared in their space, it had been a lost trading vessel from the Outer Rim. This was different. This was much bigger. "What do we have?" asked Dr. Kethra, the station's head scientist. She was from the vegan system and had studied alien technology for most of her life. Her green eyes looked at the main screen where a shape slowly moved across the star map. "Unknown vessel, approaching from the direction of Sol system," Veltar said. "Distance is about 3 light years and closing. Speed is approximately 12 times light speed." Dr. Kethra's eyes went wide. 12 times light speed. That is impossible. Most of our fastest ships can only do 8 times light speed. "The readings are correct," said Veltar. "But that is not the strange part." He pressed a button and new information filled the screen. Energy readings, material scans, and power output data scrolled down in long lists. "Look at the power source," Veltar said. Dr. Kethra read the data twice before speaking. "Nuclear fusion? And what is this other reading? This cannot be antimatter?" "That is what the computer says," Veltar replied. "The ship is using controlled nuclear fusion and antimatter for power." The room went quiet. Everyone knew that nuclear fusion was an old technology. Most civilizations used it when they first learned to travel between stars. But they always moved on to safer energy sources quickly. Antimatter was different. Antimatter was dangerous, very dangerous. Only a few species in the galaxy had ever tried to use it for power, and most of them had destroyed themselves in the process. "Sir," said Communications Officer Rixall, "I am getting more readings from the ship. It appears to have weapons." "What kind of weapons?" asked Commander Veltar. "Unknown design, sir." "But the energy output is very high. Much higher than our own." "Weapons." Dr. Kethra moved to another screen and began typing fast. "I am running the ship design through our database. Maybe we can find out what species built it." She waited while the computer searched through thousands of known ship designs from across the galaxy. Minutes passed. The computer found nothing. "Number match, sir," she said. "This ship design is completely unknown." Commander Veltar felt a cold feeling in his stomach. In over 300 years, the Galactic Council had met every intelligent species in their part of the galaxy. They had detailed records of every ship type, every technology, and every weapon system. To find something completely new was almost impossible. "Could it be from outside our galaxy?" asked Dr. Kethra. "That would take millions of years to travel." "Here," said Veltar, "even at 12 times light speed." The communications officer spoke up again. "Sir, I am reading life signs on the ship. The computer says there are about 800 living beings aboard." "What species?" asked Veltar. "Unknown, sir. But they appear to be carbon-based life forms, similar to us in some ways." Dr. Kethra looked at her readings again. "Commander, we need to contact the Council. This is bigger than anything we can handle here." Veltar knew she was right. He opened a communication channel to the Galactic Council headquarters on Proxima Centauri. Within seconds, the face of Council Chairman Zorith appeared on the main screen. The chairman was old, even for his species. His gray skin showed the marks of many years of service to the Council. "Commander Veltar," said the chairman. "What is so important that you call an emergency session?" "Chairman, we have detected an unknown vessel approaching Council space. The ship appears to be from a species we have never encountered before." The chairman's expression changed. "Are you certain?" "Yes, sir. The ship design, technology, and power systems are all unknown to our databases. What are their intentions? Unknown at this time, sir. They have not tried to communicate with us. The chairman was quiet for a moment. I will call an emergency meeting of the council. Continue monitoring the vessel and report any changes. Do not attempt contact until we decide how to proceed. Yes, sir, said Veltar. The communication ended. Veltar looked around the room at his team. Everyone looked nervous. What do you think they want? Asked Rixal. Most species come to us seeking membership in the council, said Dr. Kethra. They want access to our technology and our trade networks. But most species contact us first, said Veltar. They send messages or signals. This ship is just coming straight toward us. Dr. Kethra looked at her readings again. There's something else strange about this ship. Look at these material scans. She put new data on the main screen. The ship appears to be made mostly of metal alloys. Very thick metal alloys. Most of our ships use synthetic materials that are much lighter. Maybe their technology is not as advanced as ours, suggested Rixal. But look at their power output, said Dr. Kethra. It is much higher than ours. And they are traveling faster than our fastest ships. It does not make sense, said Veltar. How can they have better engines but use older building materials? Hours passed. The unknown ship continued to approach council space. The monitoring station tracked its every movement. More data came in with each scan. Dr. Kethra discovered that the ship was much larger than they had first thought. It was over 2 kilometers long and half a kilometer wide. That made it one of the largest ships ever detected in their space. Why would they need such a big ship? She wondered aloud. Maybe they are a very large species, suggested Rixal. The life sign readings say they are about the same size as us, said Dr. Kethra. 800 beings should not need a ship this large. Veltar was studying the weapon readings when he noticed something that made his blood run cold. Dr. Kethra, look at these weapon placements. She came over to his station and looked at the data. These weapons are pointing in all directions. Yes, said Veltar. This ship can fight enemies coming from any angle. Most of our ships only have weapons pointing forward. Maybe they expect to be attacked, said Dr. Kethra. Or maybe they expect to attack others, said Veltar quietly. The thought hung in the air like a dark cloud. For over 200 years, the galaxy had been at peace. The Galactic Council had made sure that all conflicts were solved through talking and compromise. War was almost unknown among the member species. Sir, said Rixal, the ship has just entered our outer sensor range. We are getting much better readings now. New data filled the screens. What they saw made everyone in the room step back in shock. Those are missile launch tubes, said Dr. Kethra, her voice barely above a whisper. Hundreds of them, added Veltar. And those appear to be energy weapon arrays, said Rixal. How many weapons does one ship need? Asked Dr. Kethra. Veltar counted the weapon systems on his screen. He stopped counting when he reached 50 different types of weapons. No ship in the Council fleet had more than 6 weapon systems, and those were only for protection against pirates and raiders. Commander, said Rixal, I am getting a new reading. The ship appears to have smaller ships inside it. Fighter craft? Asked Veltar. I think so, sir. The computer shows at least 20 small ships docked inside the larger vessel. Dr. Kethra shook her head. This is a warship. This is not an exploration vessel or a trading ship. This is built for war. The room went quiet again. The word war was not used often in council space. Most species had learned to live in peace long before they developed space travel. The idea that a species might build ships specifically for fighting was almost unthinkable. We need to contact the chairman again, said Veltar. He opened the communication channel. The chairman appeared on screen immediately. What is your report, Commander? Sir, we have more detailed scans of the vessel. It appears to be a military ship, a warship. The chairman's face grew pale. Are you certain? Yes, sir. The ship has hundreds of weapon systems and carries fighter craft. It is designed for combat. The chairman was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. Commander, I want you to prepare a first contact team. Send our best diplomats and scientists. We will attempt peaceful communication. Sir, what if they are hostile? Then we will deal with that when it happens. For now, we assume they come? In peace. Prepare the diplomatic ship Harmony of Spheres for launch. Yes, sir. The communication ended. Veltar looked at his team. They all looked worried. Get me a channel to Captain Morden on the Harmony of Spheres, he said. Within minutes, the face of Captain Morden appeared on screen. The captain was from the Centauri system and had handled first contact situations for over 30 years. Commander Veltar, I understand we have visitors. Yes, Captain, but these are not like any visitors we have had before. Veltar sent all the data to the Harmony of Spheres. He watched Captain Morden's face as he read the information. This is most unusual, said the captain. I have never seen a ship like this. Be careful, Captain, said Veltar. We do not know what these beings want or how they will react to us. I will take every precaution, said Captain Morden. We will approach slowly and transmit the standard first contact protocols. The Harmony of Spheres launched from the Council Station an hour later. It was a beautiful ship, designed to look peaceful and welcoming. Its white hull gleamed in the light of the nearby star. The ship carried the Council's best diplomats, scientists, and translators. As the diplomatic ship moved toward the unknown vessel, everyone on the monitoring station watched and waited. This would be the first contact between the Galactic Council and a completely new species. It should have been an exciting moment. Instead, Veltar felt only fear. Captain Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the UNSV Indomitable and looked at the stars ahead. She had been in command of this ship for 3 years. In that time, they had fought pirates, protected colony ships, and patrolled the outer edges of human space, but today was different. Today they might meet aliens for the first time in human history. Captain, we are receiving a transmission, said Lieutenant Torres from the communications station. It appears to be coming from an unknown vessel. Sarah walked over to Torres's station. What kind of transmission? It starts with mathematical sequences, ma'am. Basic math like addition and multiplication. Then it moves to more complex formulas. After that, there are pictures. Pictures of what? Simple drawings, Captain? A circle, a triangle, a star. Then more complex images that might represent a solar system. Sarah nodded. It sounds like a first contact protocol. They are trying to show us they are intelligent. Yes. Should I respond? Sarah thought for a moment. The Indomitable was not an exploration ship. It was a Dreadnought-class warship. One of the most powerful ships in the United Nations Space Navy. She had 600 crew members, enough weapons to destroy a small moon, and armor thick enough to survive a nuclear blast. This was not the ship that Earth had planned to use for first contact with aliens. Send the standard response, she said. Math sequences, then basic pictures. Let them know we understand. Yes, ma'am. Sarah walked back to her command chair and pressed a button. This is the captain speaking. All senior officers report to the main briefing room immediately. 20 minutes later, Sarah sat at the head of a long table. Around her were her most trusted officers, Commander Jackson, her second-in-command, Dr. Martinez, the ship's chief medical officer, Lieutenant Commander Singh, the weapons officer, Major Williams, the Marine commander, and 8 other officers who ran different parts of the ship. Ladies and gentlemen, it appears we are about to make first contact with an alien species, Sarah began. This is not what any of us trained for, but it is what we have to do. What do we know about them? Asked Commander Jackson. Very little. They sent us a first contact message using basic math and pictures. Their ship appears to be about half our size, but we do not have detailed scans yet. Dr. Martinez raised her hand. Captain, what are our orders regarding first contact procedures? Sarah looked around the table. Earth Command has protocols for this situation, but they were written for exploration ships with diplomats and scientists aboard. We are a warship with a military crew, so what do we do? Asked Major Williams. We follow the protocols as best we can. We will be peaceful and try to learn about them. But we must also be ready for anything, Lieutenant Commander Singh spoke up. Captain, should we power down our weapons as a sign of peace? Sarah thought about this carefully. No, we keep our weapons online but not targeted at their ship. We cannot appear weak, but we also do not want to seem hostile. What about our Marines? Asked Major Williams. Should they be in full combat gear? Standard. Duty uniforms for now, but have the combat teams ready. If this goes wrong, I want us prepared. Dr. Martinez looked worried. Captain, what if they think we are too aggressive? Most first contact scenarios assume peaceful intentions. Doctor, we are what we are. This ship is built for war. Our crew is trained for combat. We cannot pretend to be something else. Commander Jackson nodded. The captain is right. If we try to hide what we are, they will discover it eventually. Better to be honest from the beginning. Sir, said Lieutenant Torres through the communication system, the alien ship is approaching. Distance is now 50,000 kilometers. And closing slowly, Sarah stood up. All right, everyone. Back to your stations. Remember, we represent all of humanity today. Let us make a good impression. The officers left the briefing room and returned to their duties. Sarah walked back to the bridge and sat in her captain's chair. Status report, she said. Alien vessel is now at 40,000 kilometers, Captain, said Lieutenant Peterson from the navigation station. They are moving very slowly and sending. Continuous peace signals? Any weapons detected on their ship? Asked Sarah. Lieutenant Commander Singh checked his instruments. Minimal weapons, Captain. What they have appears to be for defense only. Nothing that could seriously damage us. Good. Keep monitoring them. What about their technology? Interesting, Captain, said Chief Engineer Roberts from his station. Their power systems appear to be more advanced than ours in some ways. But their ship construction looks lighter than our ships. Sarah frowned. What do you mean? Their hull appears to be made of synthetic materials, ma'am. Very advanced, but not as thick as our armor. Our ship could probably destroy theirs in a single blast. Let us hope it does not come to that, said Sarah. Captain, said Lieutenant Torres, they are sending a new message. It appears to be an invitation to meet. How? They want to dock with our ship, ma'am. They are requesting permission to come aboard. Sarah thought about this. Having aliens on her ship could be dangerous. But it was also the best way to establish peaceful contact, send a reply. Tell them they may dock with us, but only a small group. No more than 6 individuals. Yes, ma'am. Sarah turned to Major Williams. Major, I want a full security team at the docking bay. Not threatening, but ready. Also, have Dr. Martinez prepare the medical bay in case we need to treat alien injuries or illnesses. Understood, Captain? And Major? Make sure your Marines know that these aliens are our guests. No one makes any threatening moves unless I give the order. Yes, ma'am. 2 hours later, the alien ship docked with the Indomitable. Sarah watched on the main screen as a small airlock connected the two vessels. She had changed into her dress uniform for the occasion. It was navy blue with gold trim and showed her rank clearly. Alien airlock is sealed and pressurized, reported Chief Engineer Roberts. Atmosphere appears to be compatible with ours. Life signs? Asked Sarah. 4 aliens are crossing into our ship, Captain, said Dr. Martinez. They appear to be similar to humans in size and basic structure. Sarah stood up. Commander Jackson, you have the bridge. I'm going to meet our visitors. Good luck, Captain, said Jackson. Sarah walked through the corridors of her ship toward the docking bay. As she passed through different sections, she noticed her crew watching her. Everyone knew this was a historic moment. The first meeting between humans and aliens, but Sarah also noticed something else. Her ship looked very military. The corridors were lined with emergency weapon lockers. Damage control stations were visible every few meters. Signs pointed toward gun turrets, missile bays, and armor repair shops. Everything about the Indomitable screamed that it was built for war. What would the aliens think when they saw this? Sarah reached the docking bay and found Major Williams waiting with 6 Marines. The Marines were in standard duty uniforms, but Sarah could see they were tense and ready for action. "Status, Major?" she asked. "4 aliens have entered our ship, Captain. They are moving slowly toward this location. Dr. Martinez is scanning them for diseases or other threats. So far, everything looks normal." "Good. Remember, we want to make a good first impression." The door to the docking bay opened. 4 aliens walked into the room, and Sarah got her first look at another intelligent species. They were similar to humans in many ways. They walked on 2 legs and had 2 arms. But their skin was blue, and they were slightly taller than most humans. Their eyes were larger than human eyes, and they had no hair. They wore simple robes that looked peaceful and elegant. The alien in front stepped forward and made a gesture that might have been a greeting. It spoke in a language that sounded like music. "Captain," said Dr. Martinez through her communicator, "the translation computer is working on their language. Give it a few more minutes." Sarah stepped forward and made what she hoped was a peaceful gesture. She held up her hand with the palm facing the aliens. The lid alien seemed to understand. It held up its own hand in a similar gesture. They stood like that for several minutes while the computer worked to translate their languages. Finally, Dr. Martinez's voice came through the speakers. "Translation protocol is active, Captain. You should be able to understand each other now." The lead alien spoke, and Sarah heard the translated words through her communicator. "Greetings of the unknown vessel. I am Ambassador Zexhai of the Altarian Collective. We come in peace and friendship." Sarah stepped forward. "Welcome aboard the UNSV Indomitable. I am Captain Sarah Chun of the United Nations Space Navy. We also come in peace." Ambassador Zexhai looked around the docking bay. Sarah saw his large eyes taking in the military equipment and the armed Marines. "This is a military vessel," the ambassador said. It was not a question. "Yes," said Sarah. "This is a warship of the human fleet." The 4 aliens exchanged looks. They seemed surprised by this answer. "You send a warship to make first contact?" asked another alien. Sarah decided to be completely honest. "We did not plan this meeting. My ship was on patrol when we received your message. We are the only human ship in this area of space." "Patrol?" asked Ambassador Zexhai. "You patrol space with warships?" "Yes, we protect our colonies and trade routes from pirates and other threats." The aliens exchanged more looks. Sarah was beginning to think they found this very strange. "Perhaps we could talk somewhere more comfortable," she suggested. "I can show you around our ship, and we can learn about each other." "That would be acceptable," said Ambassador Zexhai. Sarah led the aliens out of the docking bay and into the main corridors of the ship. As they walked, she tried to show them the less military parts of the ship, but it was difficult. Every corridor had weapon lockers. Every junction had blast doors designed to stop enemy boarders. Every room they passed had some connection to the ship's military purpose. "How many beings are on this vessel?" asked one of the aliens. 600 crew members, said Sarah. 600? For one ship? Yes, we need that many people to operate all the ship's systems. What systems require so many operators? Sarah realized she was walking into dangerous territory. How could? She explained that most of her crew operated weapons, defense systems, and military equipment. Many systems, she said carefully. Navigation, engineering, life support, communications, security. Security? Asked Ambassador Zexhai. Protection of the ship and crew, said Sarah. They reached the main corridor that ran the length of the ship. Through the windows, the aliens could see into various rooms and work areas. Sarah watched their faces as they saw the weapon maintenance shops, the marine training areas, and the tactical planning rooms. This entire vessel is designed for warfare, said Ambassador Zexhai. It was not a question. Sarah stopped walking. There was no point in trying to hide it anymore. Yes, she said. This ship is designed for combat. It is one of our most powerful warships. The aliens stopped walking too. They looked at each other with expressions that Sarah could not read. Your species builds ships for war? Asked one of them. We build many types of ships, said Sarah. Exploration ships, cargo ships, passenger ships, research ships. But we also build warships to protect the others. Protect them from what? Sarah thought about how to answer this. From other humans who might want to steal from them. From hostile aliens, if we ever met any. From pirates and raiders. From anyone who might want to hurt innocent people. The aliens were quiet for a long time. Finally, Ambassador Zexhai spoke. Your species fights among itself? Sometimes, said Sarah. Not as much as we used to, but conflicts still happen. And you expect to fight aliens as well? We hope not, said Sarah. But we prepare for the possibility. How often does your species engage in warfare? Sarah thought about human history. The wars, the conflicts, the endless fighting that had marked human civilization for thousands of years. Too often, she said quietly. The aliens exchanged more. Looks, Ambassador Zexhai stepped closer to Sarah. Captain Chun, we must ask you directly. Does your species come in peace, or do you come as conquerors? Sarah looked into the alien's large eyes. She saw intelligence there, and curiosity, but also fear. Ambassador, we come in peace. But we are prepared for war if peace is not possible. The alien was quiet for a moment. Then it said something that chilled Sarah to the bone. Captain, in our experience, species that prepare for war usually end up fighting it. Ambassador Zexhai felt his heart beating faster as he walked through the human warship. In his 200 years of diplomatic service, he had visited hundreds of different ships from dozens of species. Never had he seen anything like this. The walls were thick metal instead of the lightweight materials most civilizations used. Every few meters there were panels that opened to reveal weapons. Small weapons, but weapons nonetheless. The corridors had blast doors that could seal off sections of the ship in case of attack. Everything was built to survive battle. Captain Chun, he said, trying to keep his voice calm. How many weapons does this ship carry? The human captain looked uncomfortable. I am not sure I should share that information, Ambassador. We are trying to establish peaceful relations, said Zexhai. Surely you can tell us basic facts about your ship. Captain Chun was quiet for a moment. Then she said, The Indomitable carries over 300 weapon systems of various types. Zexhai's three companions gasped. Dr. Calinet, the team's scientist, stepped forward. 300? That seems like a very large number. It is a large ship, said Captain Chun simply. They continued walking through the corridors. Zexhai noticed that every human they passed was wearing some kind of uniform. The uniforms were different colors and styles, but they all looked military. Are all of your crew members soldiers? Asked Zexhai. No, said Captain Chun. Most of them are specialists. Engineers, doctors, computer technicians, cooks, but they all have basic military training. Even the cooks? Even the cooks. They passed a large room with windows. Inside, Zexhai could see humans in combat armor practicing with weapons. They moved quickly and efficiently, like they had done this many times before. What are they doing? Asked Dr. Cullinet. Combat training, said Captain Chun. We practice regularly to stay ready. Ready for what? For whatever we might face. Zexhai felt a cold feeling in his stomach. His species, the Altarians, had not fought a war in over 800 years. Most species in the Galactic Council had similar histories. War was something that happened in the distant past, before civilizations learned to solve problems with words instead of weapons. Captain, he said, when was the last time your species fought a war? Captain Chun thought for a moment. The last major war ended about 50 years ago. But there have been smaller conflicts since then. 50 years ago? Zexhai could not hide his shock. Your species still fights wars? Unfortunately, yes. Humans do not always agree with each other. Sometimes talking is not enough to solve problems. Dr. Cullinet looked at her scanner. Captain, I am detecting what appears to be explosive devices. Throughout your ship, are these weapons as well? Those are mines and charges for destroying the ship if it is about to be captured by enemies, said Captain Chun. The four aliens stopped walking. Zexhai felt his skin go pale. You would destroy your own ship? Rather than let it fall into enemy hands, yes. A ship like this could cause great damage if the wrong people controlled it. Wrong people? Asked communications specialist Rixal. You mean other humans? Possibly. Or hostile aliens if we ever encountered them. Zexhai's mind was racing. This was worse than anything he had imagined. Not only did humans build warships, but they expected to fight other humans and aliens. They were so prepared for war that they would rather die than lose a battle. Captain Chun, he said carefully, perhaps you could show us some of the non-military parts of your ship? Areas where your crew relaxes or pursues peaceful activities? Of course, said Captain Chun. Follow me, she led them to what she called the recreation deck. Zexhai hoped to find something that would show him humans had peaceful interests. Instead, he found more evidence of their warlike nature. The recreation area had what appeared to be combat simulators. Humans were using them to practice fighting. There were also areas for physical exercise, but the equipment was designed to build strength and speed for combat. Even the games the humans played seemed to involve strategy and competition. Do your people have any activities that do not involve fighting or competition? Asked Dr. Kala single quotes net. Captain Chun looked confused by the question. Of course, we have music, art, literature, science. But on a military ship, most recreation time is used for training or staying in fighting condition. What about meditation or peaceful contemplation? Some crew members do that in their private quarters. But it is not common on a warship. They visited the medical bay next. Dr. Kalinet was horrified by what she found there. The medical equipment was clearly designed to treat combat injuries. There were surgical tools for removing weapons from bodies, machines for treating radiation poisoning, and devices for repairing damage from explosions. How often do you treat combat injuries? Asked Dr. Kalinet. We have not seen actual combat in 6 months, said Captain Chun. But we treat training injuries regularly, and we must be prepared for battle wounds if war comes. 6 months? Dr. Kalinet looked shocked. Your species fights so often that 6 months without combat is noteworthy? Captain Chin seemed to realize. She had said something disturbing. We hope for longer periods of peace, but conflicts arise. Pirates attack our cargo ships. Colonies rebel against the government. Sometimes we have disputes with other human nations. Other human nations? Your species is not united? We have a world government, the United Nations. But humans still organize into different groups based on location, culture, and beliefs. Sometimes these groups disagree strongly enough to fight. Zexhai felt sick. His own species had formed a unified government over 2,000 years ago. Most species in the galaxy had done the same thing long before they developed space travel. The idea that humans had reached the stars while still fighting among themselves was almost unthinkable. Captain, he said, may we see your weapons? Captain Chun hesitated. That might not be appropriate for diplomatic guests. We are trying to understand your species and your capabilities. Surely showing us your technology would help build trust between our peoples. After a moment, Captain Chen nodded. Very well, but you must stay close to me and follow all safety procedures. She led them to a weapon control room. Zexhai's eyes went wide as he saw the displays showing hundreds of different weapon systems. Missiles, energy beams, projectile weapons, and devices he could not identify. This one system controls 60 missile launchers, said Captain Chun, pointing to a screen. Each missile can destroy a ship the size of yours. 60 missiles? Zexhai's voice came out as a whisper. This is just one of our missile systems. We have 8 different types of missiles, each designed for different purposes. Communications specialist Rixal was studying another display. What is this weapon that requires so much power? That is our main particle beam cannon. It can punch through the armor of the largest ships. Dr. Kalinet looked at her scanner again. The power requirements for these weapons are enormous. How do you generate so much energy? Nuclear fusion reactors and antimatter containment systems, said Captain Chun. Antimatter? Dr. Kalanet stepped backward. You use antimatter as a power source? Yes, it provides the energy we need for our weapons and faster-than-light travel. But antimatter is incredibly dangerous. One small mistake could destroy your entire ship. We have extensive safety systems, and our engineers are very well trained. Zexai realized that humans were not only warlike, but they were also willing to use technologies that most species considered too dangerous. The Galactic Council had banned antimatter weapons over 500 years ago after a test accident. Destroyed an entire moon. Captain, he said, have you ever had an antimatter accident? A few. We lost 2 ships during the early development of the technology. But we learned from those mistakes. You lost ships? How many crew members died? About 800 people total, but that led to better safety procedures. Zexai felt faint. Humans had killed 800 of their own people while developing dangerous weapons technology. And they considered this acceptable because it led to improvements. Perhaps we should return to your bridge, he said. We would like to meet more of your senior officers. Captain Chen led them to the bridge of the ship. Zexai was surprised by what he found there. The bridge was clearly the command center of the warship, but it also looked comfortable and efficient. The officers working there seemed calm and professional. This is Commander Jackson, my second in command, said Captain Chun. Commander Jackson stood up and nodded politely to the aliens. Welcome aboard the Indomitable. I hope your visit has been educational. Very much so, said Zexai. Commander, may I ask about your background? I have been in the Space Navy for 15 years. Before that, I served in the Earth military. For 10 years, what kind of service in the Earth military? Infantry combat. I fought in 3 different wars on Earth before joining the Space Navy. Zexai's heart sank further. The human second in command was a veteran of multiple wars. This was not a peaceful species that happened to have one warship. This was a warrior culture. Commander, said Dr. Kalanet, how many wars has your species fought? Commander Jackson looked at Captain Chun, who nodded. Thousands, he said. Throughout our history, humans have fought almost constantly. World wars, civil wars, colonial wars, religious wars, trade wars. We have gotten better at avoiding them, but conflicts still happen. Thousands of wars? Communications specialist. Rixal could barely speak. Human history is mostly a history of warfare, said Commander Jackson. We try to learn from our mistakes, but we seem to keep making new ones. Captain Chain introduced them to other officers. The weapons officer had studied military tactics at 3 different academies. The chief engineer had designed weapon systems before joining the ship's crew. The communications officer had served in intelligence operations that involved spying on other human governments. Every officer they met had some connection to warfare or conflict. Even the ship's doctor had trained in battlefield medicine. Captain Chun, said Zexai, we need to ask you some difficult questions. Of course. Does your government plan to expand into other star systems? We are already expanding. Humans have colonies in over 50 star systems. Do you plan to expand into systems that belong to other species? Captain Chun looked uncomfortable again. We hope to expand peacefully. But if we encounter hostile aliens, we will defend ourselves. What if other species do not want humans in their space? We would try to negotiate, but humans need room to grow. Our population is increasing and we need resources. Zexai felt a chill run through his body. This was exactly what the Galactic Council had always feared. A warlike species that needed to expand and was willing to fight for what it wanted. Captain, he said, what would happen if another species tried to stop human expansion? Captain Chun was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was calm but firm. We would try diplomacy first. But if that failed, we would fight. For our right to exist and grow, even if it meant war? Ambassador, humans have been fighting for survival for thousands of years. We will not stop now just because we have reached the stars. Zexai looked at his companions. They all had the same expression of shock and fear. In all their years of diplomatic service, they had never encountered anything like this. "Captain Chun," he said, "we need to return to our ship now. We must report to our government about this meeting." "Of course, I hope we can continue these discussions soon." As they walked back to the docking bay, Zexhi's mind was racing. He needed to contact the Galactic Council immediately. What they had discovered about humans changed everything. This was not just another species seeking membership in the Council. This was a potential threat to the peace that had existed in the galaxy for centuries. Humans were not just capable of war, they expected it. They prepared for it. They had built their entire civilization around the assumption that conflict was inevitable. And now they were expanding into space with the most powerful warships anyone had ever seen. The galaxy was about to change forever. Ambassador Zexhi sat in the emergency council chamber on Proxima Centauri. Around the circular table sat representatives from 47 different species. Each one looked more worried than the last as they listened to his report about the humans. "You are telling us that this species fights wars while traveling between stars?" asked Counselor Velton from the Rigel system. Her green skin had turned pale as she spoke. "Yes, Counselor. They have fought thousands of wars throughout their history. They continue to fight even now." Council Chairman Zorith leaned forward in his chair. "Ambassador, please tell us about their military technology again." Zexhi opened his datapad and read from his notes. "Their single warship carries over 300 weapon systems. It is powered by nuclear fusion and antimatter. The ship can destroy vessels much larger than itself." "Antimatter," Counselor Nextra from the Vega system stood up quickly. "They use antimatter as a power source?" "Yes, they told me they lost 2 ships and 800 crew members while developing the technology. They consider this an acceptable cost." The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. Several counselors spoke at once, their words mixing together in a chorus of disbelief. "Order! Order!" called Chairman Azorith. "Let the ambassador finish his report." Zexhi waited for quiet, then continued. "They have colonies in over 50 star systems. They are expanding rapidly and need more resources. When I asked what would happen if other species opposed their expansion, they said they would fight." "Fight?" Counselor Kemba from the Centauri colonies looked shocked. "They would start wars over territory?" "That is what they indicated. They believe conflict is natural and inevitable." Dr. Morden, the Council's chief scientist, activated a holographic display. "I have been analyzing the data from the ambassador's visit. The human warship has energy output levels that exceed our largest ships. Their weapons could penetrate our strongest shields." "How is that possible?" asked Counselor Velton. "Our technology is far more advanced than theirs." "Their technology is different," said Dr. Morden. "We focused on efficiency and safety. They focused on raw power and destructive capability." Chairman Zorith looked around the table. "What do we know about human society? Are they all warriors?" Zexhi shook his head. "No, but their entire civilization is built around the idea that war might happen at any time. Even their non-military citizens receive basic combat training. Their children learn about famous battles in school." "Their children?" Counselor Nextra sat down heavily. "They teach warfare to their young?" "It appears so." "They view military history as an important part of education?" Dr. Morden brought up new data on the holographic display. "I have requested additional information about human culture from their ship's computer. What I found is disturbing." The display showed images and text about human history. Pictures of ancient battles, weapons, and armies filled the air above the table. "This is from something called World War II, said Dr. Morden. "Humans fought a global war that killed over 70 million of their own species." The council chamber went completely silent. No one could speak for several minutes. Finally, Chairman Zorith found his voice. 70 million in a single war? Yes, and this was not their largest war. They have fought many conflicts of similar scale. Dr. Morden changed the display to show more human history. They developed nuclear weapons and used them against their own species. They created biological weapons designed to kill millions of people. They built chemical weapons that cause horrible deaths. Counselor Kemba covered her eyes with her hands. How can a species be so violent and still develop space travel? That is what makes them so dangerous, said Dr. Morden. Most species learn to live in peace before they develop advanced technology. Humans developed advanced technology while remaining violent. The display showed human weapons throughout history. Swords, guns, tanks, missiles, and nuclear bombs. Each weapon was more destructive than the last. Look at this progression, said Dr. Morden. In just a few thousand years, they went from hitting each other with sticks to building weapons that could destroy entire planets. Do they have planet-destroying weapons? Asked Chairman Zorath. Not yet, but their current technology could be adapted for that purpose. Their antimatter systems have enough power to crack a moon. Zexai stood up to address the council. There is something else you need to know. The captain of their warship carried a weapon on her body. What kind of weapon? A small projectile weapon that fires metal bullets. She called it a sidearm. When I asked why she carried it, she said all officers are armed at all times. Counselor Velton looked confused. Armed at all times? Even during peaceful meetings? Yes, she said you never know when you might need to defend yourself. Dr. Morden brought up more data. I have found records of human law enforcement. Their police officers carry weapons and are trained in combat. Their civilian population is allowed to own weapons for personal protection. Civilians own weapons? Counselor Nexra could barely speak. In many human societies, yes. They have millions of privately owned weapons among their population. Chairman Zorath rubbed his forehead with his hands. So not only do they have powerful military forces, but their civilians are also armed? It appears so, said Dr. Moore, single quotes. Then the holographic display changed to show human entertainment. Movies, books, and games appeared in the air. Even their entertainment focuses on conflict, said Dr. Morden. Their stories are about wars, battles, and heroes who solve problems through violence. Their children watch these violent stories? Asked Counselor Kemba, from a very young age. Violence is considered normal entertainment in human culture. Zexai activated his own data display. I asked Captain Chun about human philosophy and religion. Even their spiritual beliefs often involve conflict. What do you mean? Many human religions include stories about wars between good and evil. Their gods fight battles against demons and monsters. Even in their spiritual life, they expect conflict. Dr. Morden nodded. I have found similar patterns in their literature and mythology. Humans tell stories about heroes who win through fighting. Their greatest legends are about warriors and battles. This is incredible, said Chairman Zorath. We are dealing with a species that has organized its entire culture around warfare. Counselor Velton stood up. What about their government? Surely their leaders try to maintain peace? Their government is run by former military officers, said Zexai. Many of their political leaders have fought in wars. They see military service as good preparation for leadership. And their current expansion into space? Asked Counselor Nexra. Dr. Morden brought up a map of human territory. They are expanding rapidly in all directions. They establish colonies with military protection. Each colony has defensive weapons and trained soldiers. They are building an empire, said Chairman Zorath. It appears so. And they are doing it faster than any species we have ever encountered. Counselor Kemba looked at the map. How long before they reach council space? At their current rate of expansion, less than 50 years, said Dr. Morden. The council chamber erupted again. 47 voices spoke at once, all expressing fear and confusion. Order! Order, called Chairman Zorath. We need to discuss our options. What options do we have? Asked Counselor Velton. If their single warship can destroy our largest ships, how can we oppose them? Maybe we should try to make them our allies, suggested Counselor Nexra. Allies with a species that solves problems through violence? Counselor Kemba shook her head. That would be like making friends with a predator. Dr. Morden brought up new data. There is something else you should know. I analyzed their ships' construction methods. They build their warships in large quantities. How many ships do they have? Asked Chairman Zorith. The exact number is unknown, but their industrial capacity suggests they could build hundreds of warships like the Indomitable. Hundreds? Several counselors gasped. Their entire civilization is organized for war production. They can manufacture weapons and ships much faster than any peaceful society. Zexhai looked around the table at his fellow counselors. We must also consider their psychology. Humans do not just fight because they have to. They seem to enjoy it. Enjoy fighting? Counselor Velton looked sick. Captain Chain spoke about combat with enthusiasm. Her officers seem proud of their military service. They celebrate their warriors and honor their veterans. This gets worse and worse, said Counselor Nextra. Dr. Morden activated another display. I have found records of human sports and competitions. Even their games involve combat and conflict. The display showed human sporting events: boxing, wrestling, football, and martial arts competitions. They compete by fighting each other for entertainment, said Dr. Morden. Millions of humans watch these combat sports. They fight for fun? Asked Counselor Kemba. It appears so. Physical competition and controlled violence are major forms of entertainment. Chairman Zorith stood up slowly. What are we dealing with? A species that fights wars, teaches violence to their children, carries weapons at all times, and fights each other for entertainment? That appears to be an accurate summary, said Zexhai. The council chamber was quiet for a long time. Everyone was trying to process what they had learned about humanity. Finally, Counselor Velton spoke. What do we tell the other species in the galaxy? How do we warn them about this threat? Is it a threat? Asked Counselor Nextra. They said they come in peace. They also said they would fight anyone who opposed them. Zexhai reminded her. Dr. Morden looked at his data again. Based on their expansion rate and military capability, humans will be the dominant force in this part of the galaxy within 100 years. Dominant force? Chairman Zorith felt cold. They have the technology, the numbers, and the military organization to conquer any species they encounter, but would they? Asked Counselor Kem ba.zex, HA. I thought about his conversation with Captain Chun. I believe they would try peaceful contact first. But if peace failed, they would not hesitate to use force. And with their technology and military culture, any war would be catastrophic for their opponents, added Dr. Morden. Chairman. Zorith looked around the table one more time. It seems we have discovered something unprecedented in galactic history. A species that achieves space travel while remaining fundamentally warlike. What do we do now? Asked Counselor Velton. We prepare, said Chairman Zorith. We must assume that humans will eventually demand territory, resources, or tribute from the Council. We need to be ready. Ready for what? Asked Counselor Nexra. Ready to decide whether we fight them or join them. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. For the first time in galactic history, the Council faced a choice between war and surrender, and they were not sure which option would be worse. 3 days had passed since Ambassador Zexhai's report to the Galactic Council. During those 3 days, every species in the galaxy had received emergency briefings about humanity. The response was panic. Chairman Zorith looked at the reports, flooding his desk. The Rigel Defense Force had mobilized its entire fleet. The vegan colonies were building emergency shelters. The Centauri trade routes had been suspended as merchant ships fled to protected systems. Sir, said his aide, Admiral Kekstar is here to see you. Admiral Kekstar entered the chairman's office. He was the supreme commander of all Council military forces. His blue skin was darker than usual, a sign of stress in his species. Chairman, we have a problem, the Admiral said without greeting. Just one problem? Chairman Zorith tried to make a joke, but his voice was tired. Our intelligence division has been monitoring human communications. The humans know we are afraid of them. Chairman Zorith felt his heart sink. How do they? No. Our fleet movements, the emergency evacuations, the military buildup, they are not stupid. They can see that we are preparing for war. What is their response? Admiral Kekstar activated a holographic display. This is a recording from yesterday. A message from the human captain to her government. The image of Captain Chun appeared in the air. She was speaking to someone off-screen. Earth. Command, this is Captain Chun. The aliens are mobilizing their military forces. All intelligence suggests they view us as a threat. I am requesting immediate reinforcement, the recording ended. Chairman Zorth felt cold. Reinforcement? He asked. Yes, sir. Our long-range sensors have detected 15 human warships heading toward our space. They will arrive within 10 days. 15 ships like the Indomitable? Some are larger. Chairman Zorth stood up and walked to his window. Outside, he could see the orbital defense platforms that protected the Council capital. They had always seemed so powerful before. Now they looked like toys. Admiral, can we fight them? Admiral Kekstar was quiet for a long moment. Chairman, I have been a military officer for 60 years. I have studied every battle in Galactic history. In all that time, I have never encountered a situation like this. That is not an answer. Sir, we have 47 member species. Together, we have over 3,000 warships. But most of our ships are designed for police work and peacekeeping. The humans have designed their ships specifically for war. You still have not answered my question. Admiral Kekstar looked directly at the chairman. In a straight military conflict, we would lose, badly. The words hit Chairman Zorth like a physical blow. The Galactic Council had maintained peace for over 500 years. They had the most advanced technology in the galaxy. And now a single human warship could defeat their entire fleet. How is that possible? We stopped thinking about war centuries ago, said the Admiral. We focused on science, art, philosophy, and peaceful development. The humans never stopped thinking about war. They are better at it than we are? Chairman Zorth returned to his desk and sat down heavily. What are our options? 3 choices, sir. We can fight and lose. We can surrender immediately. Or we can try to negotiate. Negotiate what? Our surrender, but with better terms. A communication alert sounded. Chairman Zorth S8 appeared on the screen. Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the human fleet. They are requesting permission to enter Council space. Requesting permission? Chairman Zorth was surprised. Yes, sir. The message says. They come for diplomatic talks? Admiral Kekstar frowned. This could be a trick. They arrive with 15 warships and call it diplomacy. Or maybe they really do want to talk, said Chairman Zorth. Let them enter our space, but have our fleets ready. Yes, sir. 2 days later, Chairman Zorth stood in the main council chamber. Every seat was filled. Representatives from all 47 species had come for this historic meeting. Outside the space station, 15 human warships waited in formation. The humans had been invited to send a delegation to the council. Chairman Zorth expected Captain Chun and a few diplomats. Instead, the humans sent 20 people, including several who wore uniforms with many medals and decorations. The lead human stepped forward. He was older than Captain Chun, with gray hair and scars on his face. Honorable members of the Galactic Council, I am Admiral Marcus Webb, Supreme Commander of the United Nations Space Navy. We come in peace, but we come in strength. His words sent a chill through the chamber. Even his greeting was a threat. Admiral Webb, said Chairman Zorth, welcome to the council chambers. We hope to establish peaceful relations between our species. As do we, Chairman. But first we must address the elephant in the room. Elephant? An expression from our world. We must talk about the obvious problem that everyone is thinking about. Admiral Webb gestured toward the walls of the chamber, where displays showed the positions of both human and council fleets. You have mobilized your entire military force because you are afraid of us. We have brought our own ships because we do not want to be destroyed by nervous aliens with weapons. The directness of his words shocked the council members. Most diplomatic meetings involved hours of polite conversation before anyone mentioned serious topics. Admiral, said Councillor Velton, We mobilized our forces as a precaution. We did not know your intentions. Our intentions are simple, said Admiral Webb. We want to exist peacefully alongside other species, but we will not be bullied, threatened, or destroyed by anyone. We have no desire to threaten you, said Chairman Zorath. Good, then we can discuss the future. Admiral Webb activated his own holographic display. It showed a map of the galaxy with human territory marked in red and council territory marked in blue. As you can see, human space and council space are expanding toward each other. Within 50 years, we will meet. We can either plan for that meeting or we can stumble into conflict. What do you propose? Asked Counselor Nexra. We propose joining the Galactic Council as equal members. Equal members? Counselor Kemba looks surprised. Yes, we will follow council laws in council space. You will follow human laws in human space. We will work together on problems that affect both of us. And if conflicts arise between humans and council species? Asked Chairman Zorath. We will solve them the same way you solve conflicts between council species. Through negotiation and compromise? And if negotiation fails? Admiral Webb's expression became serious. Then we will handle conflicts the way we always have, through strength. The chamber erupted in worried voices. Several counselors stood up and spoke at once. Order, called Chairman Zorath. Admiral Webb, are you threatening us? I am stating facts. Humans do not back down from fights. If someone attacks us, we fight back. If someone tries to steal from us, we stop them. If someone tries to enslave us, we destroy them. But surely peaceful solutions are preferable? Asked Counselor Velta. Of course, we prefer peace. But we prepare for war, one of the other humans stepped forward. She wore a uniform with different markings than Admiral Webb. I am General Patricia Santos, Commander of Human Ground Forces. Perhaps I can explain our position differently. She activated another display showing human colonies and trade routes. Humans have worked hard to build our civilization. We have colonies on dozens of worlds. We have millions of people depending on trade routes for food and supplies. We have children growing up on frontier worlds. Her voice became emotional as she continued. We will do anything to protect those people. Anything. If that means building the strongest military in the galaxy, we will do it. If that means fighting anyone who threatens our families, we will do it. But violence should be the last resort, said Counselor Kemba. It is the last resort, said General Santos. But it is always an available resort. Chairman Zorath looked around the chamber. He could see the fear in his fellow counselors' faces. But he could also see something else. The humans were not lying or trying to trick them. They were being completely honest about their intentions. Admiral Webb, he said, what role do you see humans playing in the Council? We would like to handle military matters for the Council. Protection of trade routes, defense against pirates, and security for member worlds. You want to be our military? Asked Admiral Kekstar. We want to be the galaxy's military, said Admiral Webb. You focus on what you do best, science, diplomacy, art, and peaceful development. We focus on what we do best, protecting those who cannot protect themselves. The chamber was quiet as everyone considered this proposal. And in return? Asked Chairman Zorath. We want access to council technology, trade networks, and scientific knowledge. We want to learn from you the same way you learn from us. What guarantee do we have that you will not use your military power to conquer us? Asked Counselor Nex_Raw. Admiral Webb smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. You have the best guarantee possible. It would be bad for business. Bad for business? We need customers for our goods and services. We need trading partners for resources we cannot produce ourselves. We need allies in case we encounter hostile aliens from outside this galaxy. He gestured toward the star map. Conquering you would give us empty worlds and dead economies. Working with you gives us prosperity and security. General Santos nodded. Besides, humans have learned something from our history. Wars are expensive, peace is profitable. But you are still prepared for war, said Admiral Kekstar. Always, said Admiral Webb, but we prefer peace. Chairman Zorath called for a recess. The council members needed time to discuss this proposal privately. In the private meeting room, the debate was intense. "We cannot trust them," said Councillor Velton. "They are too dangerous." "We cannot fight them either," said Admiral Kekstar. "They have made that clear." "So our choices are surrender or partnership?" asked Councillor. Chem_Ba. "Those appear to be the only realistic options," said Chairman Zorath. "What if they betray us later?" asked Councillor Nex_Raw. "What if we reject them now?" replied Admiral Kex_Tar. "They will expand anyway. At least this way, we have some influence over their actions." The debate continued for hours. Finally, Chairman Zor_Eth called for a vote. The result was 35 votes in favor of accepting the human proposal, 12 votes against. When the council reconvened, Chairman Zor_Eth faced Admiral Webb. "Admiral, the Galactic Council accepts your proposal. Humanity will be granted membership in the Council with equal status to existing members." "Thank you, Chairman. However, we have conditions." "Name them." "First, human military forces will operate under Council oversight. Second, any military action must be approved by the Council. Third, humans will respect the sovereignty of all member species." Admiral Webb nodded. "Agreed, with one condition of our own." "What condition?" "If the Council is threatened by external forces, you will allow us to defend you using whatever methods we consider necessary." Chairman Zor_E thought about this. It essentially gave humans complete military authority in crisis situations. "Agreed," he said. Admiral Webb stepped forward and extended his hand. "Then welcome to the new galactic order, Chairman. I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship." As Chairman Zor_Ev shook the human's hand, he wondered what they had just done. They had solved the immediate crisis, but they had also changed the galaxy forever. For the first time in 500 years, the galaxy had a warrior species among its leaders. The age of peace was ending. The age of human protection was beginning. Outside the space station, the human fleet moved into permanent positions around the Council capital. They were no longer visitors. They were the new guardians of galactic civilization. And everyone in the galaxy knew that everything had changed.